Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something truly wild. We're going to explore a mind-bending structural parallel, a deep mathematical and conceptual isomorphism between 14th century theology and 21st century quantum physics. We're looking at how a medieval mystic and a modern quantum researcher, separated by literally 700 years, arrived at the exact same framework for understanding reality. We're starting with what is arguably the ultimate mystery. I mean, we know that brains process information, right? Neurons fire, bioelectric fields shift, synapses connect. But why does it actually feel like anything to exist? Why is there a subjective inner experience of seeing the color red, or feeling joy, or simply just being aware? In modern philosophy and science, this is famously known as the hard problem of consciousness. How on earth does wet, physical matter manufacture a subjective inner life? Well, today we're going to look at two radically different systems that completely dissolve this problem. And they don't do it by answering how matter creates mind, but by completely flipping the premise on its head. So let's jump right into Section 1, the mystic and the physicist. Let's introduce the two detectives who tackle this mystery. On one side, we have Meister Eckhart, a 14th century Dominican mystic who spent his life preaching about the deep, silent ground of the soul. On the other side, we have Jay Alfred, a 21st century quantum researcher investigating the coherence modulated consciousness matter cycle. They come from entirely different worlds, separated by 7 centuries and a massive amount of scientific jargon, yet they arrived at the exact same answer. Moving on to Section 2, the spark and the substrate. When we strip away the historical context and map their frameworks side by side, it's pretty incredible. Just look at this alignment. What the medieval mystic Eckhart called the uncreated spark, or the ground of the soul, our modern physicist Alfred calls bare awareness, or the sea layer. It's just the pure capacity for experience, totally empty of concepts. Meanwhile, what Eckhart called the lower powers of the soul, our worldly attachments, our noisy thoughts, maps perfectly onto Alfred's N layer, which stands for representational neural content. But how does this bare awareness actually hook up with our physical brains? Well, for Alfred, this awareness expresses itself through biological temperature condensates. A prime candidate for this? The Posner molecule. Think of these as tiny calcium phosphate clusters operating like microscopic quantum bunkers in your brain. They have this incredible ability to protect delicate quantum coherence right in the middle of our warm, wet, and incredibly messy biological environment. And how do they pull off this magic trick? It's all about geometry. The surrounding zero-spin oxygen atoms act like a literal chemical shield against the brain's thermal noise. Their incredibly slow rotation actively fights off decoherence. They essentially create a highly protected reservoir for quantum coherence. And in Alfred's model, quantum coherence is the exact physical condition that allows fundamental consciousness to actually manifest in space and time. Which brings us to Section 3, detachment and decoherence. Let's look at how the physics beautifully illustrates the spiritual practice. Meister Eckhart was constantly preaching this practice of detachment. He argued that to reach the pure, uncreated ground of being, you have to empty your soul of all worldly images, all that conceptual noise and creaturely attachments. You basically have to leave behind the busy computing mind to find that silent spark. And here is where it just blows my mind. When you look at the mechanics, Eckhart's concept of mental detachment is the exact phenomenological equivalent of a Posner molecule achieving quantum shielding against decoherence. Both systems require profound isolation from environmental noise to preserve a delicate fundamental state. Eckhart is talking about shielding the soul from cognitive noise. Alfred is talking about shielding nuclear spins from thermal noise. It's the same structure. In fact, Alfred suggests that contemplative practices, the exact kind Eckhart advocated, literally function as biological protocols to protect quantum coherence. Sensory isolation, that lowers quantum noise. Deconceptualization, quieting your inner voice, that reduces the brain's informational measurement pressure, which actually stops the quantum wave from collapsing. Even mantras can act as structured noise to stabilize spins. So next time you meditate, you aren't just relaxing. You are quite literally running a biological protocol to enhance quantum coherence in your brain. Let's look at Section 4, illuminating the mind. The crucial question now is, how do these shielded quantum states actually create our reality? Alfred breaks it down into a very specific sequence. First, the collapse of quantum states in Posner molecules triggers biochemical reactions, and that creates your structured neural and bioelectric content. That's your N layer. Second, the quantum substrate of bare awareness, the C layer, illuminates that structured content. And third, from that interaction between pure awareness and neural structure, subjectivity, qualia, the actual feeling of life, emerges. Think of it like a movie theater. Bare awareness, the quantum coherence, is the projector's light. It's completely blank, totally impersonal. The brain's classical neural activity, your memories, your thoughts, sensory inputs, that's the film strip. Subjective experience, the actual movie of your life, only happens when the pure light of awareness shines through the structured film strip of your neural networks. Without the light, the film is dark. Without the film, the light is just an empty beam. And you know what's crazy? Eckhart said almost the exact same thing centuries earlier. He described a spark in the soul that splits off the coarser part, which we can think of as the N layer, the worldly neural noise, and becomes united with the pure, absolute light. He completely understood that the pure capacity for experience is fundamentally different from the noisy content of that experience. Which leads us to Section 5, melting materialism. Let's see how this unifies everything and totally upends modern science. In this unified framework, the hard problem of consciousness doesn't just get answered, it completely dissolves. Why? Because the brain doesn't generate consciousness. Alfred argues that materialism is simply a boundary condition of a fundamentally conscious universe. He calls it the Newtonian limit of idealism. Basically, classical matter is just consciousness in its lowest, most condensed, and least expressive phase, purely because it lacks quantum coherence. To use Alfred's brilliant analogy, consciousness is water and matter is ice. When water freezes, it seems solid and inert, just like physical matter. But when you add energy and coherence, the ice melts right back into flowing water. For centuries, materialism has basically been trying to explain the existence of the ocean by exclusively studying the ice. And that brings us to the number 0. 0. That is precisely the amount of consciousness that quantum processes, Posner molecules, or physical brains actually manufacture. They don't generate the light of awareness. They simply reveal it. They just provide the highly specialized, coherence-protected physical channels through which a fundamental cosmic awareness can percolate into matter and experience itself. So I'm going to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on. If your physical brain is really just the film strip, and your neural architecture is simply the receiver tuning into a fundamental, irreducible cosmic awareness, what exactly happens to that light when the projector turns off? Think about it.